everyone. You're listening to The Elisa Fucci Show. I'm your host, Elisa Fucci. I'm a motivational speaker, podcaster, an international best-selling book author, relationship life coach, and certified breathwork detox facilitator. They say real love takes work. Let me and experts from all over the world help you make being in a relationship fun and easy. Okay, hello. Welcome to today's podcast episode. I am so excited you're here. I am so excited I'm finally getting to this podcast episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to listen to what I have to say, to listen to what I have to share with you. And I pray and hope that this is exactly what you needed to hear. If anything stands out to you, please take it and ask yourself, check within, is this right for me? Is this what I need to hear? How can I apply this into my life, into my relationships? Don't just take my word for it. Hear it, and if it resonates with you, amplify it, maximize it, use it, and make it your own. I am here to share with you what has worked for me, for my clients, and hopefully for you too. But I would love it if you just took it and made it your own. If you do, please share with me, send me an email, reach out to me on Instagram. I have heard of people who have used my tools and reach out to me and tell me how they have implemented it and how they have used it in their lives. And I am just so touched and thankful and honored that I get to reach so many people, not just you, my listeners, but the people that you impact as you take these tools into your lives, into your relationships, and magnify them. So thank you, and let's get this started. I wanted to talk about what I've been talking about this past week on my social media. Again, if you are not following me there, you better go pause this and go follow me, because I'm always giving so much value and tools that you can be implementing daily. And maybe it's just a phrase or a sentence that I put on my comments, and that just really is what you needed to hear. So go and follow me. But something that I have been working on that is so important and impactful in your relationships is how to allow our emotions. And also, this allowing your emotions can also help you learn to love yourself more and speak up for yourself and get to know yourself a little more. So I want to teach you and tell you a little bit more about on this episode on how to use your darkest emotions. I want to cover those because I don't think we talk about those often. I don't think they are given the importance as much. So I want to talk about how to use those dark emotions, and I'm air quoting those negative emotions, to first love yourself more, to support yourself more, and to implement them in your relationship to help you connect with your spouse, to help you create that intimacy that you desperately want, to help you both start talking about your emotions. Because the number one thing that women want is for men to speak up and say how they feel, to elaborate on their feelings, to speak honestly about how they feel and what they think. We want to have conversations about their feelings. And so it all starts with you. So I'm going to talk about that, and specifically the dark emotions and how they are so powerful, and yet they are not used as much as we should be. We don't tap into them the way we should. So I'm going to show you how to use those negative emotions to impact your life for good. So if you have been ignoring all your emotions, or if you look at your negative emotions like shame, guilt, resentment, anger, frustration, if you're looking at those and think they're bad, and I have heard this so many times, if you look at those emotions and you consider them bad, you feel shame around feeling those negative emotions, or you avoid them, or you buffer with food, or with internet, with shopping, or with anything else to get rid of those emotions. You can never get rid of them if you don't allow them. But for the sake of this, like if you use outside sources to just like mute them or numb yourself to so you don't have to feel those emotions, those negative emotions, then this podcast is for you, because I'm going to tell you how powerful those emotions are and how you can use them, recycle them for good. Okay. So the first one is using them to take care of yourself, to love yourself more. I have learned this, oh my gosh, starting with guilt, with mom guilt, right? Years ago, as I had little kids, I would go to sleep and shame myself to sleep because of all the things I should have done, I didn't do, I did as a mom, and how I was a horrible mom and I was traumatizing them, and they were all going to end up in therapy, and I was a horrible mom. So I had to learn to deal with guilt. I had to learn to allow myself to feel guilt and actually use guilt as a way to learn what my limiting beliefs were about motherhood. And then I just got used to it. I just embraced guilt. Oh, there's the mom guilt. Okay. And I just got used to it and learned that no matter what I do, I am the perfect mother for my kids. But that was the first big negative emotion that I had to learn to love myself to feel, and learn myself to love myself through that emotion, right? It was the first big emotion that I had to process. The next one I would say that came a few years later was depression. And I did a podcast on this, and it was all about learning to love my depression. My entire life, I thought depression was a curse. And I resented it, and I saw myself as less than for having depression. I saw myself as I'll never be normal again. So I had to learn to love my depression and accept it as part of who I am. And instead of shaming myself, I love myself through my depressive moments. I picture myself how to love myself and have compassion for that part of me that's on the floor, on the bathroom floor, crying and feeling hopeless and helpless and like it's the end of the world. I have learned to go to that version of me and love her to pieces and just be with her on the floor and have compassion for that part of me. The next big emotion for me that's considered a negative has been like anger. Anger has been something that for me, I was told it was a bad thing. And now I use it as a tool to give me energy to do the things that I don't want to do. So I'm just giving you a few examples of how you can use these negative emotions to actually look inward and love and start loving yourself unconditionally. One exercise that really has helped me to do this is from a friend of mine who's also a coach. Her name is Hio North. Shout out. I'm going to put her link here so you can listen to her podcast. But something that she had me do in an instance was to tap into this energy instead of pushing it away, instead of like being shamed shameful, right? Is that the word? Instead of being ashamed of this emotion, especially coming from a religious background, I feel like we're not told to feel those negative emotions because they come from the devil. They come from the body, and the body is weak, right? We make it mean all these negative things. So when we feel these negative emotions, it must mean that there's something wrong with us, that we are doing something wrong. Can you feel that? Does that resonate with you? Did that just hit home? Because it did for me. It did for years. So one thing that has allowed me to process that emotion and have more compassion towards myself was to learn to feel the vibration in my body first. Oh my gosh, how does anger feel? Where does shame feel? Where does it sit in your body? How is it vibrating? Like, where is it? Like, is it making you shake? Is it like making you sweat? Is it making your heart beat faster? What is it making you do? Like, feel that vibration in your body. And then where does this emotion come from? Ask yourself, where does this come from? Where did I learn this? The more you ask, the more it subsides, the less intensity it has, the less power it has over your body and your life. So this is the reason why I'm giving you all these questions, so then you can lessen its impact on you. So then you can gain control over it instead of being acted upon. So where does it come from? Do you know where this came from originally? Because most of the times, this is where you're going to be doing your inner child healing. This is where you're going to heal from the past by asking yourself these questions and tapping into these emotions. One thing that you can do is, if that emotion had a mouthpiece, what would it be saying to you right now? And that is where you get to listen to maybe your inner child, the times where she didn't have a voice, where someone made them say something or do something against their will, or when she didn't have a say. And you get to listen to her. You get to give her a place to speak up. Notice how powerful this will be to start loving yourself, to be more compassionate and loving towards your inner child, towards that wounded version of yourself, which is the one that gets triggered all the time. That's it. That's all your wounds, all your triggers come from your inner child not having dealt with those wounds and those big emotions or those traumas or those big life events. And it's time for you to heal those. Because if you don't heal them, then your children will have to heal them. It'll be passed on generation after generation after generation until someone decides to take the time to do the inner work. Will that be you? Will you be the one to end that suffering, to end that cycle, to end that trauma? You decide. Every single person that listens to me, to this podcast, that attends my breathwork sessions, I mean, we all have a choice. We have two choices. One is to listen to the tools and either take them and go through some temporary discomfort, which will lead to growth, or listen to the tools and step back into safety and comfort where we've always been, where it's a dead zone, where nothing grows. So, if that emotion had a mouthpiece, what would it say? What would they show you? What would this emotion show you? This is where, when I do this exercise,